And out of nowhere, I'm just listening to the lines. And then it's just like somebody threw a hammer. I didn't want to ruin the scene. In my head, I'm going, I think I'm going to pass out.
Uncharted is 17 years old. Uncharted 2 celebrated its 15th birthday 2 weeks ago, 15th anniversary. Uncharted 3 was 13 years ago, and Uncharted 4 was 8 years ago. And here's some interesting facts. With 30 million copies of the games being sold in total. 30 million between the four.
Wow.
15 just for Uncharted 4.
Can I have that card when you're done? That's
sure.
kind of amazing.
Yeah. I was up the other night thinking, how can I impress them and make it sound like I'm smart with maths?
Wow, that's
Well played.
pretty good.
So many years ago, the first game came out. Did you ever think you'd have 4 games, spin-offs, that amount of copies sold, and then ending up here with us 17 years later?
No, I was saying today at the table again, and pardon me if some of you have heard it, but some of you may have not, but I was straight out of acting school and going to an audition to learn how to audition, essentially, when I got this job. So I don't think at any point I thought it would be great if I got to have a real job and get to be in a video game in terms of vocal work or voice work, but I had absolutely no clue that we were on the forefront of amazing game technology and that it would turn into all of you beautiful people 15, 18 years later.
Well, if you think about it, the game came out 17 years ago, but the actual making of the game would be closer to 20, maybe?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, it was about
It was 2007 for me.
Yeah.
2006.
I think it was 6.
Well, it was 2006 when we auditioned. Did it release in 2007?
It
I should know
released-
this, guys.
Yeah, about that, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was about
I graduated in
year-
2006.
Yeah.
It was it would have been
We're
would have
such
been
old
it would have
people.
been 2006, but early 2000. It was about a 2-year process to do the first game. All of them, it's about 2 years. And yeah, there's no such thing as Uncharted 1. So you know, it's Drake's Fortune, and then you get the 2. And I remember getting the call that we're going to do a second one, and then during the second one, they started talking about the third. So we were kind of like, this is getting better and better. And then we did the Golden Abyss, the Vita one,
Right.
while we were doing the third game.
3, yeah.
So that was a full couple of years of, we were full on. I mean, we called each other Nate and Sully. Nate and, sorry, you weren't in that one.
You know what? It's a little.
Don't worry,
sourced
nobody
up.
played.
That's why it's the worst
I mean,
game.
Yeah,
I was
nobody
just
played
shooting at a show at the time. It's not a problem.
Yeah, she was doing a big TV show.
She was a big star then.
No, it was a fun time of life to be shooting something in Nova Scotia part of the year and then come back to Los Angeles and get to film this. It was really fun.
And because you've mentioned the audition process, what was it like for you guys auditioning for this game? It's a brand new IP, an amazing company that made it. Is that what kind of convinced you to go for it and trust them with this vision? Because there was nothing like Uncharted before. The set pieces within the game were just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And obviously you had to do the mocap.
The audition part, Richard has my favorite story because we had a similar experience, but tell him about that audition at that, was it?
I went to Burbank. It was in Burbank. It was in some studio that was in a building that they had built to look like a castle. I went in, and Gordon Hunt was the director, and I'd worked with him before, and he said, come on in, Richard, and we went into a studio. He said, you're going to start here, and then you'll move over, and whoa. This is a game, right? All the games that I'd done before, you went into a booth by yourself and did the lines. And he said, yeah, motion capture. Motion what? Motion capture. I haven't a clue what you're talking about. So he told me about what the whole process was. And I went, okay. And when I walked out of there, I had been thrown so much by that, I called my agent and I said, well, forget that one. I really screwed up. And she said, don't worry about it. And then about a month or 2 later, she called and said, well, you got it. I got what? I know, I sound like an old man who can't remember. What's your name again?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah, anyway, that was my
I
introduction to
I had the same thing. It was
Yeah.
I think it was Technicolor. It was the
Technicolor.
I remember I walked in and I got the sides and everybody was it's a booth that's probably about 8 by 8. And typically what they do in an audition, you go in, they're behind the glass in another room. Okay, try these lines, and you do it. And, then you thank you so much and you leave. They all were in this little box with me, and they said, okay, whenever you're ready. And I went, are you going to stay in here with me? I had the same thing. And that's when they started talking motion capture. And I had actually heard of it, but even in that little space, there was nowhere for, Nate jumps and tumbles. And we're not going to do that in the corner of this room. So I don't know why we got cast.
Well, so
We're
then,
just the confusion.
so then though, what they're talking about is this little tiny booth. I had never auditioned before. I look at this girl on the sheet and I'm like, she looks like me. I feel like I know this chick. I did the same thing. I totally bombed the audition. Gordon Hunt calls me. He's like, we're going to go another direction. I'm like, of course you are. I sucked. That was awful. He said, but Emily, because you're straight out of school, I would love it if you could come and read across from the other actors coming in. So when they got it together in a lot of ways and they moved the audition to a much bigger room where everybody could move around, I had the opportunity to read across from all of the Nates coming in. And when we read together, it was just magical.
Magic.
And so at the end of the day of auditioning, they actually asked me, they said, hey, Emily, do you want to read for this? And I was like, I get to go again? They're like, yeah. And so I went outside, I worked on a little bit, and I came back in and read it and got the part, which they told me later. But here's the crazy part, y'all. Okay, this is crazy. And I've said this before, but my Volkswagen Jetta at the time, yes, my Volkswagen Jetta, I was driving around Los Angeles, had a license plate frame on the outside that I just thought was kind of cute. Do you know where I bought that Jetta from? I bought it from an artist who worked at a company that I had never heard of called Naughty Dog. So probably about a year prior, off of Craigslist in Los Angeles, I had bought my car at the Santa Monica building from a guy who worked on this game called Crash Bandicoot. And I was driving around Los Angeles with a Naughty Dog license plate frame because I thought it was funny. And sure enough, soon enough, I ended up working for the company, and they've brought me here to you today.
There's a round of applause. Do you feel the motion capture aspects actually help with your performance? Because there wasn't many games that had done that previously, and I think it helped, no doubt, help with your performance and help with us to love these characters, and it's actually you being the character rather than just your voice and the emotions that you're trying to put across. How did you, I know you didn't know about it at first, how did you feel once you first started doing it?
It was great because it was like being on stage or on the movie set or TV set. Actually, most like being on stage because it was, wow, my ear just popped from my flight. So I can hear again. The imagination, you had to be just like a kid again. You had to imagine everything you were doing. You had to imagine what you were wearing, what they were wearing, where we were. And he'd hand it to me, and one of them was this incredibly ornate gold dial thing that you push something and all this stuff went on. And what we had was a roll of gaffer tape. So he would come to me with the roll of gaffer tape and say, look at this. Oh my God, how did they make this? These are a primitive culture. We couldn't do that today. Gaffer tape? But that was the great thing about it, was you got to use your imagination so much that more than anything else I've ever done.
And there's also cameras, you're in what's called a volume. So cameras are all around you. So different from film and TV where they're shooting your coverage and maybe they might, shoot your close up or shoot the wide. You're kind of gauging how much energy you're using at different takes and different things. But with the video game, you are just like theater. You're on all the time because it's picking up everything all the time.
I wasn't aware they were recording, but they gave me a bunch of coffee and just said, go.
Yeah, we would just smack them and be like,
But
go, go.
I do remember just fun. There was so many fun things that you learned together, because it was so new to all of us. If you ever see Nate, all right, I think that's the end of them, and he puts the shotgun back, there would be a guy with a sandwich just waiting to grab it because there was no pouch. Gun's like, let's go and do this, and it would just drop. And so it was just, but it was just you tap into your imagination, and we had just It just was so much fun. And again, I was saying this earlier to some people that we never could have imagined it would become what it became everywhere. And we've been able to travel everywhere. I was at a convention, and I loved Game of Thrones, and I got to meet Kit Harington. My line was enormous because I had never been there, and they loved Uncharted, and Kit's wasn't as I thought he was going to go, "Who are you?" And he comes over, he goes, "Man, I just got to tell you, I love that game." And it's
Slight humble brag there as well. It's like, that Game of Thrones guy? Pff,
no,
nothing
what
on
was
me.
great. No, but the truth was, had started too long, and that they were like, "We'll get to him later." So I fed off his people. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. But I was just happy to see that people knew somewhere in Scandinavia, and I was like, "You've heard of this game?" They're like, "Yeah."
Well, you were saying earlier too. I mean, we've had opportunities to go to Jordan and do a treasure hunt
Yes.
press conference. It's just, I mean, it's amazing. And it was something that, I don't believe it was a moment in time that working actors would get a chance to be a part of something that's grown and into a genre that has exploded. Now it's full of, huge name stars. And so for us to get a chance to do that is been really special.
And what was it like when the game was finally released and critics and fans just absolutely adored it? It was like I've said, the bit I love the most is little set pieces, not Nolan's acting, but like the set pieces when things were exploding. What was that like when you saw fans were just like, wow, this game is something?
I remember running to Best Buy in Santa Monica and getting the box because they weren't given to me. We had to go and buy them. But getting the PlayStation with the game and everything on it and standing there at the register, and you just want to be like, I'm in this game.
Do you know who I am?
But you're buying it. Because the Japanese believe you should buy your own product.
It was also a bit of a delay because
Yeah.
we had to actually wait till Uncharted 2 became the hit it was, because more people bought Drake's Fortune, the first game, after they had played Uncharted 2. So we did the first one, and I remember, we're going to do a second game. We're like, oh, great. And the second game won, at the time, every game award that was made. It was ridiculous. And then, people go, 2? Oh, there must be another one. So they went back to play the first one, which, of course, it's just different because you're supposed to play them in order. But no, I thought it was great so 2009 was the second game. 7, 9, 11.
11 was
The third.
when they released the third one.
11, 1, 11.
11, 1, 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like combination. You remember your high school combination.
There was also
Yeah.
one of the other things we did. We would do other characters. They would animate some other figure on us. So we would switch and play like guards and whatever. And one time, Nolan was playing this guy who was in 3. He was.
Oh, I
you were
remember
gonna,
this.
You were gonna shoot young Drake.
Hold on. Do you remember Uncharted 3 in Cartagena with the young boy, everybody? When young Nate, and then the British guy comes up, just close your eyes. That's me. And then Sully shoots me.
And then I shoot.
Now, tell them what happened, Richard.
I shoot it. And then I'm going over to the kid to see if he's okay, and I throw the gun to the side. What I didn't realize was I thought was clearing him. He was lying on a mat where he fell. The gun, which was plastic, fortunately, but even so, it was hard plastic, hits him right in the head.
I'm lying face down. I've been shot. And out of nowhere, I'm just listening to the lines, kind of relaxing. And then it's just like somebody threw a hammer and it's just like, "Oink." And I literally just went, huh. And I didn't want to ruin the scene, but in my head, I'm going, I think I'm going to pass out. Because they were quite heavy. What they do is they'll make all the guns that we have they're like just blue or yellow or orange, like heavy plastic, but they actually make them to the same weight of whatever type of gun that is. So you're not just, like, if you seen a movie or a TV show where somebody picks up a suitcase, they're like, she has all these shoes, and he just picks it up easily. So there's nothing in that. Or the coffee cup, they're not really drinking. They're like, Yeah, thanks for the coffee. He threw that thing, and yeah.
But I didn't realize that it happened. And then
Yeah.
And everybody watching knew what happened, and they're going,
they cut the scene, and I'm just blasé. I didn't know anything, and all of a sudden everybody's running to Nolan. What happened?
all right, give me that. But the funny thing is, I think it's so funny that it's, young Nate has the gun, and he takes it, give it to me. It's a very sweet moment, and he just tosses it away onto the older Nate. Smack. Just to be clear, the room that we shot it in is as big as this. He could have thrown it anywhere. So let's think.
And we're so glad he didn't, just for this story. Now, before we move on to a game, do you have a favorite memory from filming at all?
Honestly, I have a couple. I've said this earlier. One of my favorite moments, scene-wise, is the end of Uncharted 2, I believe, when we're talking about on the scale of 1 to 10, how afraid are you that I was going to die? You chose clowns over my death. I kept your tears in a jar
Yeah.
or a bottle, either one.
Made it all up, the two.
Yeah, all of that was improv between us, and the fact that we were allowed to keep it was incredible. And I just felt so honored that, sometimes you go to set and they're like, yeah, just do one for fun or try it. And they're like, that's great. We got it out of our system. We're not going to use that, But this actually turned into the end of the movie or end of the game and was so, it was so much a piece of these two characters. And then I do think the scenes that were just more, it's always fun, like get in the car, jumping and, dropping out of planes and pretending like you're swimming and all that stuff. That's a blast. But I was always so excited, especially straight out of acting school and stuff, so excited to get to work on these scenes where there's a lot more going on for these characters. I think, the scene where they fall down the cliff and she pretends to be dead and he's all freaked out and, she comes to and she totally jokes around with him. Or the kissing scenes were funny because eventually we had these cameras on our faces and Nolan and I just weren't trying to knock into each other. But yeah, I think, getting to play Elena was like getting to be this treasure hunter, and it was a great blend of who I enjoy being, which is this action girl who can shoot and take people out, don't be scared, and then also
We disarmed her, but
yeah, deep character work that was just a pleasure. To get to be able to do that in a video game was really great. I don't know if I like scattershot answered your question, but I can't really sit here and say, oh, my deep scenes with Nolan were my favorite. It'll go to his head. So
Yeah, it's going to go to his head.
yeah.
Now, while we get set up for fan questions, I always like to play a little bit of a game during my panels. Nolan's played many of these over the years. So I thought we'd play a game called Uncharted Territory. Has anyone ever seen those geolocation games where you've got to guess where the location is? Now, I did have some maps and boards for us to play with, but I don't know where they've actually went. 2 seconds, I'll see if I can find them. Oh, there we go. Oh, well, that makes life easier.
You're bleeding. You're bleeding.
There's a map and a pen and a board. It's like I planned this. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I even made a nice little thing for the screen there. Doesn't that look lovely?
Can everybody sing the theme? Da-na-na.
Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Elena.
Thank you, Nate.
I know he starts going.
That was terrible. That was really bad. Okay, so there's a map there if you want to use it. But I'm going to show you a picture of a location, and I've started with an easy one. And I want you to try and guess where the location is. Okay? I've started with an easy one, don't worry. It could be anywhere in the world, yeah. Should we load up the first image? You can play along as well, but don't help them. Here is our first image here. Now, there is a big clue somewhere in the picture. There is a big, big clue. My friend Ben took this photo.
Yeah, what are we doing?
You're guessing where it is.
Well, I know where that is.
I'll write it down.
Oh.
You're going to get points because, I forgot to mention, there is a prize for the winner.
Oh my gosh.
It's something an actor always won. Golden Globe is the prize.
I sure hope I'm right. This is going to be really
Get a pen around?
embarrassing.
Where do you think it is? Where do I think it is? I think this is an easy one. Do we have the answer? London, London. Richards gave up. Yes, it is London.
Do I get extra
that.
points for saying it's Westminster?
See, that was the easy one.
Okay.
Are you ready for the next one? So you've got to try and guess where this is. So now you've got the idea. Where is this? If you get the country, I'll let you have it.
Can't even.
Italy.
That is a big famous building in the background.
No.
It's not Italy.
Any guesses?
Italy.
It's going Italy. You're going Italy. Nolan, where you going for?
I have a second guess, but
Or where do you think
First.
Italy it is? No, you can say Italy's fine. I'm going to give you it.
Do you have no? Do we? That's what I'm trying to figure out. The city or
No, you can just say the country.
oh, look at me. I
I just like seeing Nolan squirm.
can't look at my answers.
It is the Vatican City in Italy.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, it is. Well done. You're 2 for 2.
I've never been there.
But is Italy work or Vatican City? 'Cause
Well, either would have worked. You totally
Okay.
cheated.
why? But Vatican City's.
Right, we'll do these. Right, if you have fan questions, you can start the line up now while we finish off this
Now I-
game. The next one, this one should be easy.
Oh, the
New York Times. How many times?
It's not New York.
No.
It's not New York.
Okay.
Nolan's gone Tokyo.
yeah, that's what I'm doing. I just
You're working out how to spell Tokyo, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
oh, that's what I said.
That would have been a clue. Huh?
It is Tokyo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this one should be easy for Nolan. Come on for the final one. This one should be super easy.
Well, you would think.
For Nolan?
Everyone else has picked up on what this is, haven't you? Hands up if you know where this is. Nolan, you should get this.
Okay.
I know where this is.
If you're saying this, then I'm gonna say
It looks like Old Orchard Beach in Maine, but I don't think that's right.
Well, Nolan, would you like to tell us where it is?
That's Barcelona, Spain.
And why is that?
Because that's where Nate came out of the water to meet the real Nate in the movie.
Which leads me to my final question. Would you guys be interested in making cameos in future movies?
always. Always, always.
Would you appear in the movies? Get the chance?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. That was a quick, short answer.
From your mouth
we're
to God's
actors.
ears. Yes.
Free. They give you free food.
Yes.
It's called craft services. There's
Yes.
nothing better than free food.
Called craft service. It's usually out of the back of a truck. You know, you're never told to accept food out of the back of a truck as a child, and then you get paid to later on in life. It's great.
You rate jobs by the quality of the craft service.
It's true.
That was a great job. The craft
So-
service, they had everything.
Do you want to? Can I give a quick story about how great craft service can be? Remember the movie Social Network, about Facebook and all that stuff. The scenes where they rent the house and they rip down the chimney and everything. It's actually a neighbor across the street from me. Now I was working on a show. I think we were doing Uncharted, but every day I'd have to come home and like Timberlake parked in front of my house, and I'd have to go into my little driveway, and I would immediately park my car, get out, and walk across the street to craft service tent, where I literally would just get a coffee. I'm like, you're in my neighborhood. It's free food. I'm an actor. I'm not in the movie, but where there's free food. And one day I was sitting there, and guy turns to me and he goes, he said, those are pretty good. Have you had those? And I said, no, but they are really good. And I said, things are going really well, aren't they? And he goes, yeah, I'm pleased. I'm pleased. You enjoying yourself? And I'm like, yeah, it's been great. It was Aaron Sorkin. And I just got some of the stuff, and I have to kind of eat and watch them do it, and then slowly, like Homer Simpson, back out of the, and go into into my house. And there was a police officer that kind of, had to patrol to make sure.
People like you weren't.
And he just walk over to me. He's like, I see you.
I see it.
But then I talked to him. He knew I was an actor, but he's like,
He's
"What
never
are you doing
casted
on
it
this?"
though, has he?
Well, this one day he looked at me and he said, who are you playing on this? I'm like, I'm not in this. And he just started howling. He said, but you've been getting, I said, yeah. And he goes, me too. So, yeah, so we love our free food.
That's
Or
awesome.
stolen food, as that would be.
That's true.
Yeah. Borrowed.
I've never worked for Aaron Sorkin since, or before. So,
I've auditioned for him,
huh?
and I passed on something, but it was really good.
That's because, no.
So I will give you my food ration, and you haven't stolen it.
Oh, I trust me. I took plenty of it.
Shall we jump to fan questions?
Nolan, Emily, Richard, I can't thank you enough for the memories you guys created with Uncharted. It's one of my favorite video game franchises of all time. I kind of improvised. My question is, Nolan, you've done a lot of retro replay, played at the Uncharted games and such. In fact, a recent game came out called Astrobot, and you play this little robot, and you rescue bots around the galaxy. and celebrating PlayStation. So much so that one level you rescue a Nathan Drake bot. And
Really?
yeah, and there's a level dedicated to Uncharted called Dude Raiding.
That's what when they were making Uncharted, people were saying that's like Tomb Raider. It's like Dude Raider. Dude Raiding. So what is this game called?
Astro Bot.
Astrobot.
Yeah, it's on PlayStation 5. Nolan, you've played games. Emily, Richard, are there any like PlayStation franchises you guys really enjoyed, like playing the game itself, or you know?
Well, I'm in a really fun stage with my son, who's now 11, and I'm homeschooling him actually 3 days a week. And one of the carrots I dangle is if you can get through your work and we can get through it in a week, then we'll play Uncharted when your brother and sister aren't at home. So he knows Nolan very well. And when he broke his arm, he wanted Nolan to sign his cast so he could show all his friends at school that he has Nathan Drake's signature.
Yeah, but he
on
didn't
his
have the
cast.
money.
Yeah, but
Sorry, kid.
I think it's been a really fun season of life of me saying, I want to play this with you, but I also don't want you to play it a ton because it's a little different for you hearing your mom getting shot all the time. So I've actually really enjoyed going back and playing that through, and also Minecraft with my other kids. And then we always play Just Dance at home all the time. And we also play Beat Saber. So we like anything where we're getting up and moving. But yeah, the PS4 is on at our house regularly.
Richard, you look like a Beat Saber player.
I cannot play these games. I have a saying that if you're born before 1965, it's just not in the genes. I'm terrible. I don't think, which one was it where you were in a rail car, in a train car? I couldn't get out of the car.
That was 2, yeah.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out of the car. That's how bad I am. And that was the beginning of the game.
Yeah, I'm so bad I don't like to watch myself die. When my son, you remember in Uncharted 3 when Nate would die, he'd be like that music that would echo because my oldest was playing the game, and I'm trying to work, I'm in the kitchen, and God, yeah, and it always was followed like Nate,
How was that
He's
again?
like
That was
kid, no. And it got so bad.
It was never Nate. That was not it. Try it again. No, that's not it either. No, it was
See, in my version, you're Sofia
that.
Vergara.
I meant,
You fell out the cliff. Somebody.
It feels like we're in the volume right now, and this is how it was recorded.
Yeah, it got so bad that I actually drove to a store and bought him his first headphones because and then it was replaced by I killed you again. So it was either send him to military school or get better at that.
Awesome. I've just realized the time, so if we can just quickly blitz through questions. So quickfire. Thank you for your question, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
So quickfire questions, just so we can get through people.
Hi, I was just wondering what your favorite lines were from the games. I've always liked "You've brought a hooker to church" from the first game.
Sweating like a hooker church. Yeah, that is one of my favorite because that was his line on the page was something like, "It's hot," and he didn't decide not to say that. So you said,
I said, God damn, sweating like a whore in church.
in which I said, you brought a hooker to church?
Amy said, can't say whore.
Oh, that's right.
Hooker. Okay, we can use hooker. And so I said, God damn it, it's hot. I'm sweating like a hooker in church.
And that was it. Then I decided, not to be. You brought a hooker to church?
Sure, why not?
Yeah. And then I loved he was like, why not? And then it was just, if you watch that scene again, they let it sit. They let that was great. Naughty Dog. They just let they let the joke sit long enough where Nate just goes, come on. This is the Uncharted 5, hookers in church.
What about your favorite lines?
Oh, very quickly. I think there's one today that I was reminded of, which was, I'm not stubborn, I'm just reckless. That's good. And then also, clowns over my death. That one.
My favorite line is not one of mine. It's hers. Uncharted 2, she meets Chloe, and she says, Elena Fisher, last year's model.
Yeah.
That was my favorite line. I thought that was brilliant.
Brilliant. Thank you for your question there. Next.
When you consider motion capture, what was the hardest part? Like, if you remember through all the games, what was the hardest one to perform and to actually do if you have to imagine things around you and not actually having them on set?
Getting into the suit.
Yeah, and I'll echo that because we did it for 10 years, a span of time. So I was pregnant twice during that. So it was, I always say I was like the first maternity mocap girl. So we had these suits and normally they're super tight, but when I had my belly, I would just unzip it and I had this spandex panel and they'd put dots everywhere except for my belly. So trying to like run around like I wasn't pregnant was the hardest part.
I think the acting scenes, the theatrical scenes, I wouldn't say it was difficult because we had so much fun and it's what we do. One of the responsibilities I had to do is there were days where we weren't doing like scenes. It was Nathan Drake's, it's called set moves. So like if he's running, being shot at, now I'd have to run a bunch of times across, probably like 70 feet. And then it's a trot. Now it's under gunfire. Now there's fire. Now you're carrying this gun, doing all three of those again. Every move that you can think about, we had to do those, and you would just be. It was quite a workout, an explosion, and I would have them stand behind me, and they'd push me, like wherever if it was in front, because you can't really fake that. So the person not wearing the suit would push. So I think just the in-game moves to make whichever Nathan Drake does, that was, it was just physically taxing. Had to stay in shape.
So this is a question for all three of you. Uncharted has always told fantastic stories, and as the years have gone by, like you all have kind of like those unique stories. Like Kitty Wet is one of my favorites. Yeah. After like Uncharted 4, do you feel that there's anything left for your characters to tell, like Uncharted 5 Thanksgiving special?
There's always great stories to tell. I get this question so much. What is Uncharted 5? You probably can't say. I would say at this point, I think Naughty Dog is just, it's Last of Us, Last of Us, Last of Us. That's what they want to do. Or go to a new IP. The creator was Amy Hennig, and she's now at Skydance Media. I know, brilliant. Yep. She's at Skydance Media, did a great Captain America, Black Panther game. So, trying to put all those pieces together, I've heard people say Sony might want to do an Uncharted 5 but with a different developer. So you're like, okay, so there's no Naughty Dog, there's no Amy Hennig. I don't know how you do that and make it live up to what has already been created. And believe me, all three of us would love to do it. I just don't know how logistically that's done now.
You never know. I've seen Stranger Things, though, right?
It's a good
It could
show.
happen.
It's a good
It
show.
is.
What season is your favorite?
I'm not playing
See
it.
what I did there?
I'm just saying, I think always answer to fan demand. So let them know.
I think that they should have one where they come to visit Sully in the home and they meet all these interesting characters in the home. They drag me out, take me on an adventure. Yeah, there you go.
I think that's brilliant.
Right, I think we have time for one more question. But don't worry, guys, behind them. They're going to be at autographs all weekend, so you can go along, you can go chat to them and ask them questions. I'm sure that's okay for you guys.
We could do a lightning round if you can ask super fast.
Yes, lightning round, yes and no questions.
What was it like working with Troy Baker from Uncharted to The Last of Us?
Just a horror show. Worst. You want to talk, just going through his scarves and his hats and finding your way to your own room. Oh, it's brilliant. It was great. He's a super talent, good friend, so it's like anytime you get to work with friends in this business or in any business, you're winning. So it was great.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Very quick. Next question. Super quick.
Who would win in a fight, Lara Croft or Nathan Drake?
Nathan Drake would beat the absolute shit out of it.
And then you tried to kiss her, probably. Next question.
Just her corpse.
Uncle Nolan and Richard, I just want to ask, what were your favorite parts of Uncharted Golden Abyss? Because it doesn't get enough love.
What was your favorite part?
Up the creek with a paddle.
Yes, we had to do a canoe thing, and they brought in a canoe, and I remember doing that.
Yeah.
And it was just because we also had to do the scene, but do the mechanics of how a canoe. It was a long day.
Tedious.
It was tedious, but yes, the canoe rides with Richard. It's like being in a gondola in Venice.
Brilliant. Next question. Very quick. I'm ignoring the timer. Don't see
Hey, I
it.
love you guys. What's your favorite song, like, at the current time?
My favorite song?
Yeah.
Oh, God. You guys go.
I'm loving stuff by Northwest Stories right now, and also Josiah Queen. I'm very much into him,
Richard?
and Coldplay.
I don't have any favorite songs. I love everything.
Okay, let's do one more. Let's go. We're so close.
Nolan, you had your chance. Moving on. Next question.
Chris Cornell did a cover of "Nothing Compares to You" that I listen to every now and then, and it never gets old.
Brilliant. Quick.
Hi guys. So who is your favorite actor to work with on all the Uncharted games? Actors or anyone?
Nolan North.
I know. I was gonna say these guys.
Yeah, not them. Saeed, but
Well, and we also really love ourselves Graham McTavish.
Yeah.
If he could be with us on everything,
yeah, I
it'd be
think
great.
Graham McTavish. I mean, other than us, because we were together too much.
Too much.
Way too much.
Well, because it's a well.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. Yeah, Graham McTavish, but they were all great. Robin Atkin Downs, Saeed Badrea,
Claudia Black?
Claudia Black. Oh, she was in that. Claudia. Yeah, I mean, everybody. It was always great. I mean, we didn't have any ones that we didn't like other than Claudia and Graham. Just because I know it's going to upset you, I'm kidding.
Thank you guys. You know the live action for that starred Tom Holland. What were your thoughts on that?
I thought it was great. I thought it was very difficult to get all that into 2 hours, and they may have relied a little too much on people knowing the game. So, but I think it's great. Where was Nathan Drake in his 20s? Let those big movie stars do it, and fly me to Barcelona to do a cameo, and I'm good.
Awesome.
You guys ever read the script and go, wow, this is actually really kind of too much? Like for those set pieces that...
Oh, no. Well, there was never a big script. It was always a few scenes at a time, but it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say? And nothing ever seemed overwhelming, did it?
No, the great thing about doing the games is we got a rehearsal day to kind of talk and everything through. And then the next day, you knew those were going to be big days. And I do remember at the end of them being really tired because it was a lot more exerting than you anticipated. But no, I think all the move sets were really tiring.
Yeah.
Doing all the physicality.
Like Nolan said, we just had these few pages each scene, and we'd get that and we'd rehearse it. And also when we rehearsed, I think Amy would say, you know, if you guys have any other ideas while we're doing this, well, even while we're shooting, just throw it out. If we like it, we'll keep it. If we don't, we'll just use our stuff.
Uncharted 4, whose idea was to put Crash Bandicoot in the game because that's beautiful.
Naughty Dog.
That was Naughty Dog, yes.
Naughty Dog. And we actually watched the screen of gameplay and we just ad-lib talking.
Yes.
Brilliant. Next question.
So you guys brought these characters to life. Is there anything that you picked up from them, like any habits or just silly things like words they say?
No. We were invited to put as much of ourselves into the characters, so they stole from us, those characters.
Yeah.
I mean, I think something that I've always gained from characters that get really well received, honestly, for my own self, is just confidence in that it's okay to put myself into something. I think a lot of us struggle, maybe not Nolan, maybe not Richard, but I will speak for myself, struggle with feeling like, okay, maybe some things about me are common to everyone else to share. So I think the way you guys love Elena and love who she is has really taught me to be okay with those things.
And you bring hookers to church now, right? There's a habit you picked
And he
up.
should.
Every Sunday. They expect it.
Thank you.
Okay, last one.
Very last one. Very quick.
Hello. Oh, hi. My name's Merlin. I briefly met you, Richard. Very nice to meet you. My friend Panos, he wants to partially get into voice acting. Any advice for that, like, real quick?
D. Bradley Baker, great voice actor, has a website. Sounds hokey, but this is real. I want to be a voiceactor.com. And it is, no, I know, but it's serious. And it's microphones, how to do a demo tape, how to get it to an agent. And you need to just build those things up. Classes, improv classes, which ones are credible, which aren't. It's practical advice put out there for everybody. My own son has gotten into voiceover. He said, "Where do I start?" And I actually gave it to him. And he went to Dee's site, and it's actually quite informative. And and then get an agent, and then just good luck. I still don't know why I am where I am, but
I want to say thank you to all of you guys for coming all the way. Different from television, which is set up on a residual system. People coming to Comic-Con, sharing their story and supporting artists and people who do this and tell these stories. It really does mean a lot. So thank you guys for traveling all this way. And we really do appreciate you.
And more importantly, thank you guys. It's been great to have the three of you together. Hopefully we can get you back in the future because I still feel like we've got a lot to talk about. But we'll find you across at Overgraphs. There's photos you can buy as well. If you didn't get a chance to speak to them, please take the opportunity. You can see they're absolutely amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for our amazing Uncharted cast.